Audra, thank you so much for taking the time to do this podcast with me. It's really an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Audra, so I know that you and as well as your husband have been entrepreneurs and you're into educating kids. Can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got started?
Sure. In essence, it ends up to be that my husband has been an entrepreneur all his life, and I've been there right there beside him. He loves trying new things, and he really believes there's nothing he can't do. And so, as we tackle new opportunities, we love to get in there and do the hard work and make it turn forward. And our current and most recent project has been the Karam's Little Leaders with Black Belt Bruise, and it's really about helping our next generation. More that we are at a time in our life where we really feel it's important to lift up the next generation and give back. And so we do have a nonprofit, like you mentioned, and it funds a lot of what we do, and we personally fund a lot of that. But yeah, we recognize that, helping entrepreneur parents out there who are busy and working a lot of hours, that sometimes they get caught up in doing that and miss opportunities with their children, that can be great learning opportunities and also encourage them to be maybe entrepreneurs themselves, or at least to have the confidence to try that at a later time.
So, Audra, like this is amazing that you're helping kids and you're also helping them with understanding entrepreneurship as well, and also teaching them about leadership from such a small age. My question to you is that what was your and your husband's strategic vision from like a relatively young age, like that, and like the story of like how you got to where you are today, and like why education in this particular field versus anything else?
Hmm. We we've always wanted to do it our own way. And I walk with a friend on a regular basis, and has known our family for just a little bit. And she says, it's always fascinating when I talk to you and your husband and your family. You guys are always about how can this be done better? And it ends up to be that we think back and we're like, doesn't everybody think like that? And that's what I find a lot of entrepreneurs believe. Like they see a problem and they know they can do it better, or they have at least the belief that they can do it better, and then they say, let's make this better. And I think across the board, that's how a lot of entrepreneurs think. And some people just don't think that way. So our vision and mission from the very beginning, of my husband and I, and we've been together over 30 plus years, so everything's kind of done in it together. So it's always a we, never really an I. But yeah, we have felt that, we can build a better business, we can do things better, and why not? Because we do want that freedom, and we always wanted to be able to determine how our future is. And I think when you're an entrepreneur, you get that opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And the thing about entrepreneurship is like it just leads you to the path where you have like a path and purpose, and the entrepreneurial spirit literally leads you to that path and purpose, and it just shows you how to monetize your path and purpose and keep going, you know?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And yeah, and it gives us that opportunity to find our best gifts, right? Because we've been through a lot of different ventures and have learned a lot. And through that, as anyone else in any career sector, if not only as an entrepreneur, you find out what you're good at, right? Sometimes to the detriment of your own bank account, but that's how you learn. And I'll tell you what, you never learn faster than when it's your own money and not the company money, right?
Yeah, no, totally. So Audra, like for you and your husband, like what is the motivational factor, the inner drive that motivated you towards educating children versus like anything like because there are different businesses you can do, like real estate or you can or basically money, banking or anything like that. What drove you towards educating children of all ventures?
Yeah. So I'll just give you a quick little history. So my husband's family was in martial arts for many, many years. His dad started a martial arts business and taught Taekwondo to many adults for years. And over the course of time, and I'm going to advance it probably 30 plus years, my husband and I then got married, had children. And when we had our children, It was in the early 90s, and we were discovering that martial arts wasn't about parents weren't taking their children to martial arts for kicking and punching or self-defense. It was more about the leadership skills, the confidence that can be built. And so we pivoted the program and the curriculum. And although we did teach kicking and punching in our martial arts school, which is now closed, what we do now is currently not revolved around that. We don't have a true school anymore. But we learned that so many parents, high performing parents, successful parents, were looking for ways to augment what they were currently doing at home. And so my passion has always been children. My background is in working with children. I went to school for children, and then we had our own 4 children, and we said, we can do this better. And so then we curated this program that we implemented in our school, and it just saw magnificent transformation in children who would come to us, and they wouldn't make eye contact, they didn't know how to shake our hand, or they weren't listening at home. And we really said, you know what, we need to help these good kids be great kids, because there was a lot of potential. And we had invested parents, which I think is a key component. A parent has to be intentional about wanting to lift their children up. And the families who came to us said, you know what, I want better for them. How do I do that? And then we were having such massive success in our small area locally, in our community, that we said, you know what, we need to branch out. And so then we decided to go nationwide when COVID came, and made the curriculum and made it all animated and made it online. And so people across the globe could have participate in this program and improve their children and create a legacy of, success for their family.
Wow. So normally, like for most people, when COVID hit, the businesses like it was like it was a negative time for their businesses. But your strategy was to go online, and then through online, like it just like you just thrived instead. So what was how was your mindset during the time when COVID hit, and how did you make that pivot and transition into the program that you have now?
I this is a great question to address for anybody who's listening that's an entrepreneur, because we're of the mindset, and I believe a lot of your listeners are too, we just don't quit, right? So COVID
Totally.
happened, and we're like, oh, it's like a kick in the shins, but we don't give up. We just don't give up. We can't give up. And so then we said, how can we do this differently? Because we know what we're doing is really important. We know that we're doing is valuable. And so we have to continue on. So it took some thought and some processes and some, brainstorming and shaking some ideas out. And then we said, you know what, we're going to do it this way. So then we pivoted. Like I said, we physically did have to close the school, which was really hard. It was a family legacy, but
Wow.
you know what? As entrepreneurs, as high performing people, we say that's a part of life. Just moved the needle. We just went a different direction. And I think it's important for all of your listeners to recognize that, to say, and I speak of this from experience. I'm in my 50s, that it you can't quit, and you have to figure out a better way. If you believe in what you're doing, you have to find a better way. And we know what we're doing is important. And so when we made that transition, we said, okay, this is where we're going, and that's where we landed.
Wow. So like no, normally like this is a great case of perseverance and pivoting. And it's something that I've talked in my previous episodes as well, right? Like so a lot of times entrepreneurs they want whenever they're going through like a problem, they tend to do the same thing again and again. But sometimes there's a difference between going and continuing until you become successful and then pivoting when a certain strategy is not working. And COVID was one of those times where you had to change strategies for like a lot of people had to do that and it was about
Yes.
how you adapted to the situation. That's what entrepreneurs are pretty good at, you know?
Yeah, you have to be, or you won't be in it long, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of the questions I had for you, Audra, was what like during your lifetime of like entrepreneurship, like what are some for like you and your husband, what is like the biggest challenge you all had to face, and how did you overcome it?
Hmm. Biggest challenge we've had to face and how to overcoming it. I want to say, but I don't think it's accurate. I want to say it's getting up every day and just keeping at it. But I would have to say that my husband and I probably are built a little different. We That's just what we are. That's who we are. That's what we do. We don't give up. We don't give in. We just keep plowing forward. But I guess, and there weren't naysayers. A lot of times you hear, like, don't let other people, don't share your dreams or your vision with other people because they could be naysayers. That wasn't something we ran into. I guess it would be just the knowing when. Okay, so this is maybe the best way to say it: knowing when to shift how you do things, because sometimes you're being successful and you're working forward and you're having your moderate success. So you kind of go, okay, this is good and I can settle here, or do I turn just a little bit this way and maybe try this, and then I can have massive success, or I can have a downfall. And I think that would be the biggest challenge, is knowing when to kind of shift directions if it's not forced. Like COVID was forced on us, right? And we had to make that change. But I think when you actively and you sit back and assess your business and how you're living your dream, you have to say, am I happy where I'm at, or can I do better? Can we do better if we make this minor shift? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. So as a continuation of that, Audra, is like what is like the deep insights or lessons you and your husband learned over these years, like doing entrepreneurship and business and then just running the school and all of that? Like what was like the ultimate lesson you learned, like just regarding life and business in general?
Yeah. It's cliche, but don't quit. If you believe in something with your whole heart and mind and body, don't quit, and don't listen to the naysayers. So, I mean, I know a lot of your listeners have probably heard that before, but I really, to drive it home, you have to be intentional. And I think that's an important piece, is that a lot of small businesses, I think the percentage of small businesses that fail is, like 75 to 90%. I can't remember. I don't know what the number is now, but I know back in the day it was very, very high within 3 to 5 years. They just fail, and that's a lot of investment. And we've sold a lot of our businesses, and we've sold them to people, and we've floated the loan and carried we wrote the loan on it, but they they had an illusion that people who are self-employed or entrepreneurs live a life of luxury, and can go to Cancun or wherever whenever they want, and it doesn't work that way. You have to be willing to put in the work and the effort initially, to build up what your dream is, and then it's not work, right? It becomes your love. If you wake up every day excited about what you're doing, then you're in the right place. And if you're not, I'm not saying quit, but think about it and try and figure out what gets you excited to get out of bed every morning. And that's how we both have always been. We're always like, what's next? So we keep on going with that.
Yeah, like Audra, yeah, what you just said about like naysayers and not quitting is so relevant. But however, like a lot of people want to know, like, what is the mindset around handling the naysayers and the mindset around not quitting when things go tough? Because yeah, it's easy to say I'm not going to quit, but then when things get tough and then we're going through emotional stress. And as entrepreneurs, we know that that's a common thing that we have to face, so it's about how we react to that. So from your perspective, what is our mental and emotional state when we're dealing with stress like that, or when you have people being negative Nancy's altogether?
Yeah, the negative Nancy's out there. Yeah. Initially, the first thought is don't share it with them, when they, what their input, and sometimes it's our family that's the negative Nancy's. So you don't share, you can just kind of, allude to something else, or, just say I'm working on a few things and let it go. And then second to that is, I'm a huge believer in quotes. I love quotes that are inspiring. And thank goodness we're the age where you can just pop on YouTube and get a motivational video. And I think if you find the time to, pop in minutes of a motivational video and find, there's great ones out there to tell you just dig deeper or whatever it might be that inspires you. Yeah, so when you're like feeling your back is against the wall, you don't quit, you fight, and find what it is that motivates you to stay in the game, because that's what's going to determine your success. And some people just quit too early, but sometimes it's not. Entrepreneurship, as you know, isn't for everyone. So some try it and then they're like, I am never going back to that. And some of us just love to live here. This is where we live. So I would say, yeah, if you have a in goal setting, and motivational quotes, and then inspirational pieces that remind you, why are you doing this? And that you have to find your why. I know Simon Sinek talks about finding your why. And when you remember that, your why, when the times are tough, it may be like you want to, help your family, or you want to be a better person for your daughter or something like that. When you know your why, it helps you get out of bed and helps you continue on when things are tough.
No, I totally agree with the why thing. Like it's you have to have a strong emotional why that hits you at the core, because otherwise
Yeah.
you're never gonna succeed in what you're doing over the long term. A lot of like the most successful people, they had a strong why, and they
Hmm.
just had a strong path and purpose, and they just went with it. When adversity hit, like it didn't phase them at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not, there's very few who, I think that if their why is just to make $1 million and have a private yacht, um, that might be, but it generally doesn't keep you toeing the line. It doesn't keep you, bloodying your knuckles and showing up. Your why has to be more deep, I think.
And also another thing I wanted to add in addition to this, like, is our perspective on how we view barriers and adversity. So a lot of times a lot of entrepreneurs, like we see, a lot of times we see adversity as opportunities. And if we see adversities as opportunities to get better or to overcome, a lot of times if you look at it, people have achieved stratospheric levels of success after they faced an adversity. It's kind of like going to the gym and lifting these really
Mhm.
heavy weights. If you're able to overcome them, you naturally become stronger. And so our mindset around this should be based on seeing it as a positive thing. But I don't know, what would be your thoughts around that?
I agree. Is it hard to do? Super hard. Because when we're going through it, or when we're experiencing it, or we get dealt that deal, our I wouldn't say our natural reaction, but a lot of us, recoil, and we go, poor me, but you can't be poor me. Poor me doesn't get us anywhere, right? You
Yeah.
have to buck up and move on. And I'm sure a lot of things that people are hearing from me say, your mom probably told you, and that's why, as parents, we need to help strengthen our children to be amazing leaders, because heaven forbid we're not there at some point in time when, as they grow up to be older. And now's the time, our group works, our program really works for 3 to about 9 years old. And that's when these kids are really ready to be built. And I don't mean to say like built, like we have this goal, but I think we always wanted the best for our children. We wanted to be best they could be, whatever that looks like. And if you don't start when they're young, you miss a golden opportunity, because just like riding a bike, if anyone here doesn't know how to ride a bike, you're way more hesitant as an adult to try and venture out and say, let's learn how to ride a bike, because when we're young, it's, oh, this is what we do, and so we figure it out, and our bodies are much more ready to learn new things when we're young. And so if we can fortify our children with some of these benefits, why not?
Yeah, I looked at your website and mentioned that the best age to teach the children starts at 3. And like from
Yeah.
your perspective, why is it age 3?
There is, so my background in kids is, we know that, actually kids are learning when they're in utero. So when you are a pregnant mom, your kids are already learning about things in the outside world. It's hard to believe, but it's been proven. And so the kids' formidable years are from birth to age about 7. But there was a Harvard study that shows that children, like, habits are an important thing. And any entrepreneur out there knows that habits are what kind of can make us power through, right? Having good, effective habits can help us be successful. And Harvard studied like 50,000 families, and they have discovered through this study that by age 9, and our children, if they don't have strong, healthy, good habits built around how they live their life and what they plan to do, the likelihood is way less for them to be successful. Our habits determine our future, right? Um, and so it's really between those ages, and starting as young as 3, a lot of people, we've met with some families and they're like, 3, I can't ask my 3-year-old to do this. And we're like, yes, you can. And here's why. They're like, well, they don't even know how to make their bed or whatever it might be. And I'm like, well, we need to teach them at 3. They're fully capable. And sometimes as parents, they minimize the capability of their children, and saying, oh, we have to do this for them. Well, as soon as we stop doing things for our children and help them learn how to do for themselves,
Mhm.
they're lifted up. They grow confidence inside. They see how great it feels to make that bed. And when I say make a bed, I don't mean like, clean tucked corners or anything, but a 3-year-old can simply really pull a blanket up on the bed and put a pillow up there and have some success with that. And how that you just watch them kind of swell up with this pride, like, I did that, right? They have that satisfaction. And when every time we help them feel that satisfaction as an adult, as a parent, as a teacher, that's growing their confidence inside. And everyone who's going to be a good entrepreneur has to have confidence.
Yeah, totally. Like habits are so important, and they get ingrained into our system much at an early age.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I do agree with you on that. And Audra, speaking of like thoughts and actions and habits, how do you think like our generation should, like the kids of our current generation should grow up regarding entrepreneurship and investing and just like business in general? And like how should the schools basically teach their children in order to like have like the best generation we can?
That's a big question. And I know our schools struggle with financial, support and helping kids all the time. But I think uh, uh, shortcoming of public school anyhow has always been that finances, but the focus hasn't been about how to live, how to become, an entrepreneur, how to do things. The trade schools happen when you're in high school, but balancing a checkbook, it's on the responsibility of the parents, but sometimes the parents aren't there. Parents don't know how to do that. So I think the schools could, benefit in helping our future generations by helping them tackle real life, just a class or two, right? It doesn't have to be the reading, the writing, and the math and what those have always been, but help them learn the skill sets they need when they get out there, how to budget your money. We've heard stories all over the world about, kids get their first check, they don't know anything about taxes. They don't know that, Social Security is going to come out and things like that. So I think every time we can help them be better prepared for that in the schools, if they can do that. And I know there are a lot of them are trying, and I know a lot of the private schools are trying, and charter schools are doing things to implement those kind of pieces into the curriculum. And I think that's really helpful. But yeah, let's help them be real and help them be more successful in everything they're doing in the school settings.
So, Audra, as one of the tenets of Extraordinary America is actually the transformation of the 99% into entrepreneurs and investors with the goal of financial freedom. But a main component I can see of that being in the future is teaching the young generation the thoughts and actions and the mindsets to become successful or to like have the habits to be successful in regards to money and just like business and overall. So, from your perspective, how if you're like a parent and you have like children and you're thinking of the next steps, how to make them successful in life, how would the parent go about doing that?
Well, I think doing something like our program offers. Our program circles around the physical, the intellectual, the emotional, and social well-being of your child, and we pull in pieces in our program that a lot of parents don't even think about. And it's the fundamental things of courtesy. I don't know if you've ever heard of that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People
I've
by
read
Dale
that book.
Carnegie. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I actually worked for that organization for about 8 years, just becoming an instructor and teaching, corporate CEO people how to be better leaders. And in the throes of that, it's taking the time to really understand that everything doesn't just there's teachable moments, right? And then there's pieces when we have to be intentional about teaching our children. Like we're a lot of times parents only teach their children maybe to tie their shoes because that's a skill set that's put in front of them, and we have to teach them how to tie their shoes. But let's remember we can teach them other important things like how to hold the doors open for people, right? How to say please and thank you, and how we treat others is so critical to our lifelong success. And you've heard about social and emotional intelligence, and when you have that opportunity for your child, if they model a lot of what we do, and we know we don't all model the perfect stuff that should be for our children, but through our program, a weekly basis, the opportunity to it comes forward through an animated fun video, Black Belt Bruise, and he takes, just a few minutes a day on that, maybe that start of that week, and shares a fun lesson like, hey, all week, let's say please and thank you, and the parents drive that home by participating. It's very organic learning. It's things that we as parents should always be doing with our kids. And sometimes they get missed. Opportunities are missed because that opportunity didn't come up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think it's a critical time to say, hey, find somebody who's been there and done that. If you have the opportunity of grandparents or your parents are still around, and that's why I think as a community, it's so valuable to have extended family to help raise our children. And nowadays, that doesn't happen as much. We're all across the U.S., right? We're all spread out sometimes in different countries, even. But that's the value of having family and other people to help support you, because these children, I think it's important to have like three critical adults to help your child become better, because they need to see different perspectives and they need different opportunities. And as parents, that's great. We're doing great. And most of us are trying the best. But if you can learn from somebody who's already been there and done that, and that's something that I bring to the table with the Black Belt Bruise curriculum is, you can see these critical components that are really important. And one of them is body language. How do we make eye contact? Does your little one make eye contact? And the impact of that when you go to maybe a job interview, or you're looking for that, to take on a new business opportunity, you have to make eye contact. And that's not something that's always passed on. And so we bring up a lot of things through our curriculum and program parents don't always think of, like, oh, okay, let's hear from somebody who's been there and has experienced that and helped others.
So, Audra, since we're talking about this, can you tell the audience a little bit more about the Black Belt Bruce Club and the Little Leaders program so that they understand the foundations of how it started and more of what it's about?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So, yeah, Karam's Little Leaders, within that, we have a program, and it's over 12 months of videos that can be watched, and they're on YouTube. You can watch them for free on YouTube, and it's at the Black Belt Bruce Club through YouTube. And they're short videos that introduce concepts about body language, teamwork, and peace, and, focus, and respect, and discipline. So we introduce all of that, and then we say, have a conversation with your kids. Just a few questions like, why is that important? And how do we show that? Or whatever it might be. And then, all week you work on that one thing that's important. And we send a booklet out to them in the mail. So everything can be done from the comfort of your home. And it takes less than 10 minutes a week. I was a busy mom. We had 4 kids in ages 5 and under. And so there was a lot going on. And I'm like, one more thing? Are you kidding me? But this is important stuff. And we designed this in a way that if you dedicate 10 minutes a week, you can really change the trajectory of your child. And it's a small investment. And I will get you some coupon codes that your families can use to participate in it. But yeah, it's all done online. They get a booklet in the mail. The kids earn a wristband at the end. It kind of simulates the belts from martial arts. You know how when you go through martial arts, you earn different belts. Um, and it introduces really important topics, table manners, and just things that can help them be better kids. Like I say, good kids to great kids. And so they can find us on YouTube, like I said, Black Belt Bruce Club. We've just started making them available, and they are free. So they can watch the videos there, and then they can request the booklets be mailed out to them, and they get a calendar and stickers, and they love it. So the kids love getting this stuff in the mail, and they get really excited about it. And as we know, to have anybody do anything that helps them move forward is, if they're excited about it, then it's easier to do, right?
Yeah, totally. And Audra, so like your program that you have versus like the school system program right now we have on a national level, like what do you how would you contrast the program and how do you think it's different from each other?
Yeah. So we teach social and emotional learning. We teach leadership skills at school. They're teaching them, academic things, how to add 2 plus 2, and they're teaching them, science and history, and we think all that is very important. And this augments it. And some of the schools that are currently using us, they put it in at circle time on Monday mornings. They watch the video and they have seen such improvement because there's been a request throughout the U.S. that schools need to start doing this. It's PBIS, and they need to start doing this social and emotional learning. And some of them have used our program or they use other ones. But anything is important to add this social and emotional learning component, and it's not just about being book smart. We know that that's valuable, but it's the next step. So we offer outside of the academic learning. There's some pieces in our program that teaches about how to learn and reading books and things like that, but it's totally a fun thing. And they do the mission, we call it, for the week. And then after they've had 4 successful missions for the month, then they get their wristband. And so it's just fun. And then it can be adjusted because, like I said, it's for 3 to 9 year olds. What a 9 year old can do as opposed to a 3 year old is different. So, we help the parents identify how to kind of massage the curriculum and the program to better suit their child's needs.
That is great, Audra. And Audra, I wanted to ask you about the Karam's Kids Center and the nonprofit that you and your husband are doing. Can you tell me in the audience a little bit more about that?
Yeah, our Karam's Kids Center is a 501(c)(3), and it was designed to help students who in the area when we had our small school to be able to attend the classes if they couldn't financially afford it. And so we would get some support from local people and businesses in the area. And then a lot of times we personally funded the nonprofit because we knew how valuable it was. So right now it's in existence to help any student who wants to participate in the program. They apply for a scholarship and then they can be a part of the Karam's Little Leaders program and get the curriculum that way.
That is awesome, Audra. And Audra, how can the audience connect with you and get to know more about you and the Little Leaders program and everything that you and your husband are doing?
Real simple. One, they can go to YouTube, Black Belt Bruise Club. Second way is they can email me at bruce@blackbeltbruce.com. And then third, they can just go to blackbeltbruce.com. On the parents on there, I think, kind of giving some testimony. We have a school section if you're interested in a school. I think in the top right corner of our website, you can click on there for what schools are doing and where they're at. And that you can get a better picture of it, and hopefully it can answer any questions you might have.
That is amazing, Audra. And Audra, I'm really appreciative that you took the time to come on this podcast and share your wisdom. And I do feel like our education systems should be built in such a way that emotional and social learning are prioritized and entrepreneurial skills are also taught to kids from a relatively small age because that will lead them to having strong habits and success in life. And
Mhm.
like what you and your husband are doing are pretty important, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. We love doing it and we do see impact. And we have a slogan is better habits, better future. And we got to build them up, right?
No, totally. And I would definitely want you and your husband to come on the show at a later time, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. I'd
And
love to.
yeah, and I want to conclude this episode by letting my fellow extraordinary Americans know that, hey, look, there's an extraordinary within each and every one of us, and it's our duty to awaken it and unleash it. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching Exploring America. If you like what you see, please do subscribe to our podcast and share it with others. Remember that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is in your own financial education, for it is knowledge that truly sets us free. Also, remember that inflation is diluting your purchasing power, which in turn increases financial bondage. The practical thing to do is to protect the loss of your purchasing power and invest in precious metals or the right cryptocurrencies. Lastly, never forget that you are an extraordinary American. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.